The content of this podcast is intended to provide general information about Tarion and new home warranty coverage in Ontario. The content is accurate as of the date of the recording, but may later be affected by changes in legislation or policy. The content should not be used as legal advice. You are encouraged to consult with your lawyer if you are seeking legal advice related to buying a new home or about the warranty program. Please visit Tarion.com for the most current information about your new home warranty.
This is SSN
Story Studio Network.
You've decided to buy a new home or condo in Ontario and you've found your realtor. You've heard about the new home warranty, but you're not sure exactly how it applies to you. Will your realtor help you understand the buying process when it comes to pre-construction or resale homes? What do you need to ask before signing a purchase agreement? Welcome to Unpacked, a Tarion podcast about the new home journey in Ontario. By law, all new homes built in Ontario are provided with a warranty by the builder. Tarion's role is to ensure that buyers and owners of new homes receive the coverage they are entitled to under their builder's warranty. I'm Barb DiGiulio, and in this episode, we'll be talking about the role that realtors play in pre-construction and new home sales. Joining me today is the president of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, Tania Artenosi. Hi, Tania. Thanks so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you for having me. So excited.
Well, there's a lot to talk about here. And I was going to ask you, the first question seems to be quite loaded because I'm sure there are so many ways to answer it. What role do realtors play in pre-construction sales?
Yeah, it's a great question because most of the time, consumers line up outside of the new home sales site and just go in, pick a lot off a picture and sign a contract. The thing that we're finding now, especially in this environment, is, builders have delays. There's, some of them are experiencing some challenges and the consumer doesn't know where they stand, right? So, and this is natural. It happens in the best of markets. It happens in the worst of markets. Things happen with new home construction and you kind of just roll with it and, wish the builder all the best success that, the project gets completed. But what happens if it doesn't? Or what happens if there's a delay? So the idea of using a realtor, it's about consumer protection. So we're going to ask our consumer, the questions, what are your goals? What are you looking for? What do you know about the builder? What do you know about the location? And then we're going to go into what does the contract look like? What are the questions you have to ask? What happens if there's a delay? What does your warranty cover? What are the interest rates during interim occupancy? If a builder is delayed or doesn't complete the construction, what are your rights? Where are you protected? And so realtors will go through that contract with the consumer with a fine-tooth comb and help them pull out questions they may not know or they may not know they need to know. And then we'll guide them through the process of, do you need independent legal advice just before you sign this contract? Because they are really extensive. They're hundreds of pages long because the builder is disclosing so much information. But the average consumer is not really paying attention because they're excited about buying a home, right? I'm going to be a homeowner. This is the dream. So there's the minor details is what they're not paying attention to. And this is where realtors really going to come in handy for them. Realtors are governed. We have in Ontario the strictest laws and code of ethics we have to follow. And this is about putting the consumer first. We want to support, sellers and builders. We want to support them 100%. They're providing much needed product to the market that is desperately required, though we have to make sure the consumer understands. And under our laws, we've just introduced the new Trust in Real Estate Services Act that really puts the consumer protection at the forefront. And realtors have to be and act responsibly. And in doing so, we're really going to put that extra effort into the consumer's protection when they're making the largest investment of their life. Loaded. It's a lot, but there's a lot there
And
because we
and
do a lot.
And I want to touch on a lot of what you said. So
Yeah.
you mentioned about the possibility of getting legal advice. Let me ask you about that now. Is it a good idea for people who are going to be signing a contract to always get a real estate lawyer to have a look at it?
I really feel it's important. I think today there's a lot of uncertainty in the world with the markets and the interest rates and mortgage approvals. It's just that extra due diligence that a consumer should do to protect themselves, their families, and also, in fairness, to protect the builder. Right? If this consumer is going to go out and get independent legal advice, they're going to come to the table with the builder fully knowledgeable, and the builder is going to be able to do the best for that consumer, and the consumer, is going to be able to close on that deal and take occupancy of their home. So yeah, I really feel that getting independent legal advice, understanding what you're signing today, is so important for the consumer and the builder. The builder doesn't want to have problems on closing, and the seller doesn't want to have, or the buyer doesn't want to have problems on closing. We want it to be a harmonious transaction with a positive outcome.
When new home buyers are looking at finding a realtor, is it a better idea to find a realtor associated with the developer, or is it a good idea to have a realtor that's not associated with the developer?
So, the way I look at it is that the consumer has to be comfortable with who they're working with, whether that's the realtor associated with the builder, or maybe they have a long-standing relationship with the realtor that they trust and they want to use that realtor. At the end of the day, I believe the consumer has to do their homework as well and find that realtor that fits them, their needs today. And obviously, real estate is a relationship, long relationship. So it really comes down to who's the consumer most comfortable with? Who do they feel is going to act in their best interest after they've spoken to maybe the builder's realtor representative or someone that they have a relationship with? So it's really not a who's better, but who's the consumer most comfortable with. There's got to be a trust there between the two people.
One of the topics that has come up a lot through the entire series that we've been doing is the fact that people, in their excitement about purchasing a new home, can often forget there are things they need to know, things they need to make sure of. So if we're talking about somebody buying a pre-construction home, and when I think about that, I think about all of the possibilities. I mean, you're buying something on paper, right? So what are some of the misconceptions maybe that people have about buying pre-construction homes?
I think one of the big ones is sometimes what they think they're buying in terms of square footage or room sizes. When it's actually in front of you, there's a little bit of disappointment. It's not quite what they thought, and that again comes down to a lot of questions that realtors will ask their clients, and then realtors will go to the builders and say, do you have renderings? Do you have a lot of these builders now, they're using like 3D imaging, some of them life size, you can actually walk through it, with the virtual reality and everything. So it really comes down to asking the right questions, understanding what are you buying? What does a room look like? What does the size of the house look like? I mean, as superficial as it may sound, a lot of people complain about brick color. Like, I didn't pick that brick color, but really you did. But what it looks like on a wall is not the same as what it looks like on the house. So, there are some things you have no control over, like brick color. But there are some things where you can actually ask the questions, the room sizes, the dimensions, what does it look like? Do you have something that I can actually see, walk through? Technology has taken us so far in the future with buying property. It's really comes down to asking the right questions. Consumers get nervous because they're excited. They don't do that. Realtors will ground them and be like, okay, I get what you're saying, but have you thought about this when I look at the renderings? And start having more conversations and kind of ground the consumer so that both the consumer and the builder can meet each other's expectations. I really believe in collaboration, and I feel like the realtor will bring that collaboration from consumer to builder.
And one of the things that we have discussed is how much is involved with the new home warranty and how people we really want to have people empower and educate themselves so they know what their rights are. So when we go back to this discussion about pre-construction homes, what information do realtors share with buyers about the builder's warranty?
Well, we'll go through the warranty with them, and we'll take them through step by step. Year one, what is covered, year two, what is covered, year three, what is covered, and try to help the consumer just pay attention to the house settling as they live in it, right? And if things start to happen, in what years are all these things covered, right? And how much time do you have to exercise the warranty, and what are the steps that you need to do? A lot of consumers just don't pay attention to it. Some of them let it go. Some of them repair it themselves. They don't understand that, in year one, if your windows are leaking, you can go to the builder because it might be something to do with the way it was constructed. They don't understand those aspects of warranty. And so we walk them through step by step. And it's about protecting them when they're getting into this is the biggest transaction. So at the end of the day, the information is knowledge and power, and it helps the consumer understand, yes, you bought a new home. You're not fully responsible if major structural things are happening. The builder does have responsibility to you over a certain period of time. I've always found in the market when, there's a resale of a new home, 7 years, you've got the foundation is still covered. People forget this. They don't think about it. They don't know to ask for it to be carried to the new homeowner. So there's all these steps that we take and walk the consumer through in order to know that, yes, you have this in this year, and this is how long it goes for. And it helps them to feel more settled and confident in their purchase.
And not, sense? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
and not only might they be entitled to repairs on certain things in year one and year two, but if they go ahead and have that repaired themselves, that can actually affect the warranty.
Exactly. It can void out the warranty, actually. So it's better that they keep those papers very close and easily accessible so that they can always refer back to them. And the thing with using a realtor is that person's with you technically forever. You can always lean back on them and say, hey, this is happening. This was the warranty. What are my next steps? And sorry, lost my earbud. And we can always continue the relationship and help them walk through the changes and let them know. Don't be doing anything until you go through the builder and the warranty and make sure you don't have to take care of this yourself.
Another great point you made about resale homes possibly still being covered, and they will be up until a certain age, right? We've talked about that. So this is also something where I think realtors play an important role, because if they are selling a home that is under 7 years old, it would still qualify under the new home warranty, and buyers may not realize that.
Right. There's always a sense of a little more confidence when you buy a new construction resale, because we as realtors, we know that there may be warranty, and we know to tell the buyer, we've got to ask for this. We've got to put it in our agreement of purchase and sale that if there is the warranty, to provide us the warranty and make sure the warranty gets transferred with the sale, so that new buyer to that home still has the rights under that warranty should anything happen within the life of the warranty, of course. But most wouldn't know that on their own, right? And even some sellers, it's not the top of mind, right? A couple years have passed, they think, even themselves, they think it doesn't apply, but it possibly could, and that's an added value to the sale of that home for the buyer.
And if people are listening to this and wondering about their own situation, we keep telling people there's so much great information about the warranty on the Tarion website.
Yep.
Because you can find all the tools and all of the information, the resources, what's covered in what year 1, year 2, and so on, which is, a great way for people to educate themselves. This is probably the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. So it's worth taking the time to inform yourself and educate yourself. But having said that, when it comes to resale homes, is the realtor usually the one that will be able to say to the buyer, this home is still under the builder's warranty?
Absolutely. So we're going to do our homework, right? It's every house that a realtor is going to take their client to, they're going to do their homework. They're going to look also on our MLS system. We have access to new construction sites that have are coming up to be built, are being built, have been built. So we have a lot of access to information. We will know to contact Tarion and be like, oh, this was the builder, this was the year, and ask the questions. And that's our job. That's our responsibility. That's why you're using a realtor and trusting them. We're not just going to take you to a house and say, hey, this is a great house, buy it. We're going to be like, this is a great home. These are all the positive features. And this home still has 1 or 2 or 3 years left on their warranty, which is an advantage. And then we'll tell them what's remaining on the warranty because we've done that homework. We've done that investigating. So that's why, you're our customer. You trust us. We're going to do all of that legwork before we take you to the house. We're going to call the listing agent and we're going to find out, tell me about the home. Tell me what's available. Do you have warranty? We'll ask those questions and then we'll find the answers and we'll present everything. It's added value. That's why you want to use a trusted realtor.
When it comes to pre-construction homes, you touched on it earlier that one of the possibilities, and hopefully doesn't happen too often, but for some reason the project doesn't go through. So let's talk about deposit protection. This is part of the new home warranty. How does that work?
So, I mean, as the way I know it, the deposit is protected. The buyer will get the deposit back under the warranty, which is important. The downside is how long has that deposit been there, right? And does that benefit the consumer? The good thing is that they get their money back, and that's important. That's protected, and that does give trust to the consumers. The unfortunate side is that dream of theirs is not going to come to fruition, right? And that unfortunately is this downside and brings all of those emotions along with it.
And another possibility that's not ideal or a great one, but does happen sometimes, if people, maybe their own situations change and they feel like they need to get out of their pre-construction contract. Is that even possible? How do you advise a buyer about that?
Well, the thing here is that a lot of what's happened is that buyers don't go speak to their financial institution and get a pre-approval. Unfortunately, it still does happen. Again, that comes out to excitement, or they think, oh, this project's not going to close for another 3 years. I have time. But as you can see, the market changes very quickly. Interest rates change very quickly, and people's situations will change. First step always is to make sure you get in there and speak to your financial institution right away. And, that is a solid conversation about forecasting, from when the project is started to when it may be finished. What is that going to look like? Can I get a commitment in my approval for that time period? If it comes down to closing and people's situations have changed, really comes down to the relationship between the buyer and the builder and the flexibility the builder is willing to show. And at the end of the day, it's a contract, right? A contract is a contract. You're obligated to see it through. If you've signed it, it means that you've been informed and you've done what you need to do to buy the property. And, at the end of the day, builders have expenses as well, right? They've made commitments. They've got to fulfill those commitments as well. So it's a tough situation to be in. You've advised the client to get a legal opinion. You try to speak with the builder and see if there's some compromise that can be made. And then you try to come to a positive ending for both parties. What that looks like, every situation is different. It'd be hard for me to comment.
There is another option that I feel like I don't hear about as much,
Mm-hmm.
but we have
Mm-hmm.
heard about it in the news in other parts of Canada. There was an issue
Right.
with this in Vancouver. It's called assignments. Can you
Yeah.
explain what assignments are and how they work?
So assignments are consumer purchase a new construction property, whether it be a condo or a single family dwelling. And after a year or two, they want to now sell that contract and they want to sell that property. So builders today have, they either allow you to resell on the multiple listing services, the MLS, or you have to do it privately. And builders today also have either they would just let you do it, or there are fees attached to assignments. So technically, in the simplest of terms, I am the purchaser. I've bought a home. Um, my situation has changed. I want to go ahead and sell this property before it's completed. So I will engage the builder, find out what I can do, or I will engage a realtor, and that realtor is going to go to the builder, read the contract, and see what are the limitations to me selling this unfinished product on the market or exclusively. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking for someone else to come in and assume my contract that I've made with the builder. And we can get technical. There are fees that go into it. There are deposit structures that go into it that go back to the original buyer. But technically, it's the original buyer is now going onto the market to sell this pre-construction that they have bought prior to completion. And the new buyer is taking over the contract as it is, and then financially being responsible for what has been paid up to date and what still needs to be paid.
Do you see that happen often?
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
it does happen often. Yes, it does happen often. Um, I've seen it happen successfully. I myself have not experienced an unsuccessful transaction that way. But yes, it is happening more often now. And again, people have purchased properties at a different time in the market, and interest rates were different. And what they're just trying to do is they're trying to be proactive, not impact the closing. That buyer is trying to be proactive to protect themselves and make sure that the transaction closes, protects the builder. And so, there are steps that have to be taken. If it can go onto the MLS, obviously it's being far more exposed to a lot more people. If it has to be done exclusively, it's why you want to use a realtor. We know we have large networks of people that we can market to, that other realtors may have clients looking to get into that project. So that's why you want to use a realtor in the assignment, simply because of our large network, especially if we can't put it on the MLS and we have to make it an off-market sale, which I respect builders. They may still have that project being sold. They're not looking for competition, but they're not going to take away the ability for that original buyer to find a resolution that's going to be good for everybody.
As president of the Ontario Real Estate Association, you've been around real estate and realtors for a very long time. I'd love to know your experiences with the new home warranty, with Tarion, with people getting Tarion involved, and how those kinds of situations have gone.
Yeah, so people that keep on top of their warranty, let's say, um, I've seen them have successful outcomes with Tarion. Tarion has advocated for them with the builders, and I've seen them get good, positive resolution if they need work done on the home that they've purchased and the warranty is still in place. It's a matter of making sure they understand the process. How you have to make sure you understand your warranty, what years you're in for your warranty, what's covered, and then reaching out to Tarion and, putting in, I hate to say complaint, but it is what it is. It is a complaint from the consumer, right? This is happening. Why is this happening? I need it to be fixed. I just bought this property. These things shouldn't be happening. And then Tarion advocates for them, right? Holds the builder responsible, and the builder has to come in, assess, do the work, complete it, and Tarion comes back to make sure everything is done in the simplest of forms. In my experiences, that's what I've seen with working with clients and hearing from my salespeople how they work. It's important that there's a flow and that the system is followed. I haven't had an experience where it hasn't been. I've seen where, Tarion has had to have the builder come out a number of times. Tarion has had to come out a number of times. But at the end, the resolution is positive. It's a matter of making sure you stay on top of it and that and you remember the steps you have to take in order to get there. And I feel like consumers, if they deal with the realtor and they have that security that they can go back to the person they trust the most that helped them, that then the flow is a lot faster. It's really just, for me, it's about that security, that comfort, that, I bought this property. I know what's there for me. I know what I can do, and that I follow the system.
And a reminder too, that as part of that flow, new home buyers, new home owners should always try to reach out to the builder first and see if they can resolve it that way before they need to get Tarion involved. Well, as we wrap up, I wanted to ask you if you have any last words of advice for new home buyers. I think this one piece of information about, in your excitement, don't forget all the information you need to know. What else would you share with people who are in the position to buy now?
I would say do your homework. Don't be so eager to sign right away. You've really got to get informed. You've got to go look at what you want to purchase. Make sure you ask all the right questions to the builder. Make sure you see the paperwork in advance and understand it. These are the key things that are going to be successful for everyone around. We need housing. So, these builders are doing great work bringing so much housing that we need to the market. So that's the positive. We need housing. They're out there. They're taking those risks and they're building housing for us to go out and purchase. And we need to make sure that the consumer understands what they're getting and understands what they're signing. And when you use a realtor, it kind of brings harmony to the entire transaction because we sit there and we understand what we're presenting to the consumer on behalf of the builder. So we're taking everyone into consideration, but we're making sure the consumer understands what they're getting into and that they understand what the final destination is, which is, the dream of home ownership. And we just want to be respectful to everyone the whole process.
Tania Artenosi is the president of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
For more information on how Tarion can help you navigate and receive the coverage you are entitled to, go to tarion.com/learning hub. You've been listening to Unpacked, a Tarion podcast about the new home journey in Ontario.
This is SSN.
Story Studio Network.